I have released many guides on how to calibrate any Apple computer with a built-in display. This would include any Apple laptop, any MacBook, or any Apple iMac. In that guide, I'll walk you through how to use the function key on these devices to dial up and down the brightness of the display and get back to that brightness value every single time. The way how I've showed you in previous videos is a rough approximation of how to get to that value. What I'm going to show you here is how to fine-tune that value and dial in the precise value that you want. I'm Art, and Art is right. Before we start, subscribe if you're new and hit on the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I upload cool new videos like this. So for some background, as a creative professional, I always recommend that you calibrate your display brightness to anywhere between 80 to 120 candela. This is pretty much almost irregardless of what type of creative professional you are. If you're doing video work, this will work really well with Rec 709. If you're doing photography, making sure that the brightness of your screen is at the proper luminance level is going to be extremely crucial, especially if you're doing print. And this applies to any other type of creative professional work too. If you're doing design work, for instance, if you're doing web work, you always want to make sure that what you're viewing on your display is a great standard compared to any other display out there, because you can't really control the other displays or in the environment how bright they are, but you can control the environment that you're editing in. The great thing about having a laptop is that we can take this to any environment that we would like to work in. The bad thing about it is our laptop has a lot of functions, such as one that will constantly measure the ambient lighting condition or the ambient lighting intensity and change the brightness accordingly. So in my previous guide, I show you how to disable that and how to dial up and down the brightness so that you get a number exactly specifically to your device. In the previous guide, I've showed you how to do that with an Apple MacBook Pro with Touch Bar or any Apple MacBook with Touch Bar. And I've also showed you how to do that on an older Apple laptop with a function key, which also applies to any iMac too. In that video, I've shown you roughly how you can get the value within the range of 80 to 120 candela without landing exactly on the number that we want. What I'm going to show you here is a shortcut and a pro tip on how to fine-tune that setting. And we are going to start out with an Apple MacBook Pro with the standard function key, and this is going to apply for any iMac users as well. The shortcut key and pro tip to fine-tuning any of the adjustment dial on your Mac is Option Shift. If you'd like to end the video here, you can, but what I'm going to do now is demo this on a 15-inch MacBook Pro. And again, this is the one with the standard function key, so it will also work for any of you who are using the iMac too. Bring the brightness up all the way, as I've shown in the previous guide. And what you want to do is dial the value down by a number depending on the computer that you have until you reach the candela value that closest approximate the value that you have chosen. So for this laptop, I am going to try 6. At 6 down from full brightness, I'm able to achieve a candela value of 95. If I go one more down to 7, the candela value is going to be 76. This is nowhere near the 80 candela value that I have. Keeping in mind though that even if your screen is off by 5, 10, or 15 candela, you may see some slight differences, but the color variation in those candela range are going to be so small, especially if you still land within the range of 80 to 120 candela. So what can we do here? Well, let's apply our pro tip shortcut key. Press Option, press the Shift key, hold them down, and I'm going to bring the display brightness up slowly by just pressing that. And as you can see, the display slowly creeps up in brightness by a little bit. Right now at 1 up is measuring 79 and is hovering between 79 and 80, so I'm going to keep this value. So for this laptop, if I really want to go in and fine-tune the value, it is going to be 7 full notches down from full brightness and 1 little tiny notch up from that dial setting. As you will see, this may not be the quickest way to get your laptop screen brightness back to the value that you want every single time. And the approximate way of getting within the ballpark of the candela value may be more suitable for you depending on the workflow and how critical you are regarding your screen brightness. If you're using an iMac, this method is really great for you to dial in and fine-tune the values and just leave it there because you don't have to worry so much about your iMac screen changing brightness. And this is going to be really extremely beneficial for you if you're doing color critical work on your iMac screen. Now let's move on to an Apple laptop with a touch bar. So now let's have a look at an Apple laptop with touch bar. For this demo, I'll be using my 16-inch MacBook Pro. To adjust the brightness on this display, what you can do is tap on the display brightness key, and because you have a slider, you can dial this up and down and do the slide as if you are a DJ trying to make a mix, but it doesn't really help you in this situation. The better thing to do would be to tap on that and use the anchors or the buttons, virtual buttons on both sides to adjust the brightness of the display. I will start out with the full brightness first, and I will try to bring this down by 5 notches. Let's see what happens. For this particular laptop, at 5 notches down, I'm at 98 candela. My target value that I want is at 80 candela. Let's try to bring it down by 1 more. So this will be 6 notches total. At 6 notches total, my brightness right now is reading at 71 candela. And the one thing that I tell you to avoid is to go anywhere below 80 candela because you're really compressing the brightness value down by so much. So let's see if we can apply our method of adjusting the brightness here, or the pro tip that I've shown earlier. Option Shift, and let's try that. Well, it's not really quite working right now. It's still going in full notches when I have this open up. There's a problem there. And this took me a while to figure out, and one of my followers on YouTube commented on a video saying that you can't use this method for it to work. What you have to do is close this out, and you have to tap on that little caret in the beginning to expand out and have the standard function key. And in the standard function key, now what I can do is go up all the way. Let's bring this down by 6 times. i1 Profiler is now reading the brightness of this screen at 71 candela. The value that I want is at 80. So let's see if the shortcut key and the pro tip that I mentioned earlier will work. Hold down Option Shift, and this time we're going to bring the brightness up. Let's try 2. And that works. That's really fantastic. Although at 2 up right now, I'm at 84, so it's a little high. Let's bring it down by 1 tiny notches. And I'm still hovering between 77 or 2 tiny notches up. I'm at 84. So again, this method will fine-tune your calibration further so that you can adjust the brightness to a more minutia value. However, it may not land exactly on the value that you want still. For this situation, I am going to stick with 84 because I think 84 is going to be a good value for this calibration. But this gives you an idea of how this can sometimes land on the exact value, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily land on the exact value. If you are 5, maybe 10 candelas off, what I can tell you right now is don't worry about that too much. You're going to be fine. So I hope that you find this video on how to fine-tune your screen brightness during calibration helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, hit on the bell to be notified when I upload cool, great contents like this, and until next time, Art is Right.